Danny Flexen here for SecondsOut. I'd like to be joined by my good friend and boxing reporter for The Sun, Wally Downes. Wally, how you doing?
Very well, Dan. You okay?
I'm good. I should have said Wally Downes Jr. to give you your full title.
Yeah, please do.
I'm sure people know if they're watching the difference. We're here in Hilton in London at the Hilton for a big rematch between Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte. The press conference for that fight itself takes place next month. I guess, first of all, why do you think it took so long for the fight to come together and Dillian to sign on the dotted line?
From the chats that I've had with Dillian, I think, well, again, he's probably annoyed that Franklin was AJ's last opponent, because Dillian versus Franklin was sold as a semi-final for the winner fights AJ. So that probably annoyed him. And then from what I understand, you know, Dillian and his team have probably felt for a long time that this is a huge stadium fight. You know, two massive stars of British boxing, a great rivalry, and you know, the setting is not that. It's at the O2 and it's in the middle of the summer holidays. So, yeah, the negotiations probably would have been quite tense. What was always sold to fans. You know, I can't imagine a couple of years ago you'd have thought that these two would be fighting at the O2 in the summer holidays. So, and again, a piece that I did with them a little while ago, they were unhappy that Eddie kept doing interviews saying that talks were ongoing and that talks were going well, because they felt that they received a free-line email. Do you want to have a fight around this time? This is the figure. And they tried to negotiate, and again, Eddie's the world's busiest man. He's places he has to fly and fights he has to get on. But yeah, eventually it got turned around, and here we are. That's probably why it's taken a while, is that it's probably not what Dillian thought it would be. And he knows that, again, from so many interviews, that AJ against Deontay Wilder in Saudi is there. So he's trying to upset the apple cart, and he knows that's there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how all this pans out now, whether it will come out or whether it will be quite subdued. So, because Dillian can do what he wants. It'd be interesting to see how he handles it.
And the first fight between the two, or the first professional fight between the two at least, was very dramatic. Both in their youth then, yet to ascend to world title level, as both have done since, Dillian challenging, obviously AJ winning. Who do you think at this stage is closer to 100%?
It's a good question. I think you'd have to assume AJ, simply because of how probably disappointing Dillian was in the Fury fight. You know, AJ is with Derek James now. Everyone should be excited about that with the stuff that Derek James has done in the last couple of years. When you see the social media posts of AJ in Dallas, you know, Spence is walking around behind him, a pound superstar. Charlo is there, an undisputed star. He must be learning bundles from them fellas, even if he's not trying to, really. So, yeah, you would have to hope AJ. You would not hope, but you would have to just think AJ. But again, I think that Dillian will be very confident looking at AJ's last performance, thinking that if he puts it on him early, if he tries to hurt him early and wobble him and see what goes on then, because Franklin, we were promised again, you know, Eddie promised it and AJ promised it, this big incredible knockout that would scare the heavyweight division, and then it didn't come, and it never looked like coming either, which is probably a bit concerning. So again, so many promises get made and interviews get done where people talk about stuff. When it doesn't happen, it deflates everyone. So I think both fellas should be confident of going out there and getting a win, because both have shown big vulnerabilities recently.
But talking of big vulnerabilities, Dillian Whyte's 3 stoppage defeats have all come more or less via the uppercut. Is that something that at this late stage of his career can be changed? Is it something he can alter, or is it just he is what he is at this point?
Well, you know, the uppercut is a honey shot for any tall geezer. You know, the fella walks in and ducks onto it. So I'm sure Dillian and Buddy McGirt will be working on avoiding the uppercut, but they will also be looking at how AJ's always struggled with a left hook, going right back to the amateur days when, you know, he was stopped with big gloves and head guards with left hooks. So, you know, exactly what we just touched on. Both have got huge vulnerabilities. And I will be interested. I do hope, not the trash talk and that sort of stuff, but I will be really interested, and I really do hope that there's some proper back and forth between them two, because I always love the idea of, I always look forward to Dillian and Tyson doing media stuff, and it was a real damp squib, really. And I think Tyson and AJ would be phenomenal just to sit down and hear them talk about each other properly without too much rubbish. And I hope this does. I hope this kicks off and they both talk about things properly, because there are lots of cool little stories, not aside from them hating each other and want to beat each other up. So I do hope we get to that. And I think, depending on how that goes, I think that could always have a big impact on the fight, because a lot of AJ's fights, he's never really had too much needle with anyone, really. There's a little bit with Brazil, if I think back. He's fought with a lot of foreign opponents, a lot of friendly opponents. The Klitschko build-up was weird about how friendly they were.
Very respectful.
Yeah. So I think it could affect how AJ boxes. If Dillian wants to get under his skin and get at him, then yeah, that will be interesting to see.
Whose change of trainer is more of an advantage, would you say, going into this fight? So AJ to Derek James or Dillian to Buddy McGirt?
I don't think we'll be able to tell until the fight really takes place, because if you think about Derek James, a real aggression-based trainer, and the AJ that boxed Jermaine Franklin wasn't that, really. We was all expecting him to go out and blast Franklin out. I don't know if that was the best opponent for AJ, because he's always told all of us, hasn't he, that he hates fighting smaller guys. Franklin's a tough little dude who's come out of hard sparring. I never understood that as a matchup. Someone big who's maybe a bit chinny would have been the perfect opponent for AJ to get his confidence back. I think because AJ was so entrenched in Rob McCracken and that style and that relationship, moving around as much as he has, must have a bigger effect. I know Dillian looked great with Tibbs for a little while. He's moved around a fair bit. I think Dillian has his style, and he has punches that work great for him. As you said, the uppercut is something that's counted against him. I think AJ's changing of trainers and styles and the personal relationships that he has with his corner will be more telling than anything Dillian does.
Do you think if Dillian Whyte is able to pull off the upset, the Saudis would have Whyte against Wilder, or do you think that's more of a pipe dream? Because
pipe dreams are good. Again, I really don't know, Dan. The Saudi sort of thing baffles me. Because, again, I went out there when Khan boxed Billy Dibb. Oh, no, Billy Dibb pulled out, didn't he? Or he had a car accident.
Someone else pulled out, and I think he fought.
Sorry, fought Billy Dibb, yeah, sorry. And I've gone out there and done all of the shows that have been out there recently. And I do, for the richest place in the world, that everything does seem a little bit disorganised. And again, I guess it all just comes down to one guy saying, I want that, get it done now. So if Dillian puts on a fantastic performance, then yeah, maybe they do Wilder. But from what I've seen, Dillian doesn't have sort of a long-standing relationship with them in the same way that Fury's wrestled over there. Usyk's now signed with Skills Challenge. Wilder's gone over there a few times and looks to be pally with them. So I would be surprised. Again, we can ask Dillian today, is it in the contract that if you win, you get it? I'd be very surprised if it is. AJ does have a big profile, former world champion. Dillian doesn't have quite that, so whether that would marry up, I'd be surprised, to be honest, mate. I'm sure that's what Dillian wants and hopes, but we'll find out today if it's contractual.
As good as this fight is, it's not a world heavyweight title fight, although there is one taking place in August. Unified champion Oleksandr Usyk will be out in Poland. In fact, the press conference is going on as we speak, I think, defending against Daniel Dubois, who has the WBA regular belt. What do you make of that fight? Because a lot of people are saying it's coming too soon for Dubois, but you can't turn down those opportunities, can you?
No, absolutely not. I don't think at this stage of Daniel's career that losing to Oleksandr Usyk will really harm him. Don't get me wrong, if he's beaten up and knocked down and has his confidence really hurt, then that potentially could harm him a little bit. But being outpointed by Usyk at 25, rebuilding, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. Before we travelled here, I did start watching the press conference, and I think leaving Shane is a big problem. Like we saw with Lawrence Okoli, totally, completely different fighter and personality, but the Lawrence under Shane was probably the best that I ever saw, really. And there was a big dip, obviously, since leaving Shane. And I thought Daniel looked, apart from that, the Lorena performance was a real worry. He was lucky to get through the first round. So it doesn't worry me. I don't think Daniel was going to go and get really hurt by Usyk. He didn't knock too many cruiserweights out. So Dan's a big, strong boy. I would be amazed if he pulled it off, being with Don Charles. Not to discredit Don, but this is his first fight together. I couldn't think of many harder ones to have first go. But yeah, again, I just hope he goes out there. Incredible if he pulls it off. Changes everything then, doesn't it? I mean, the Saudis must start going to get him instead. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the odds are, because they will be huge.
Wally, really appreciate it, mate.